Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
I'm not pooping, you weirdos. Alright, I think I've got everything set up. Ugh. Definitely gonna need the Jocko tonight. Kids were trying to make me pass out. That's why the stream's starting a few minutes late. It was hard to extricate myself from bedtime because they had worn themselves out. They were so tired. And they were trying to do the same thing to me. I'm like, gotta stay strong. Must not let eyes close. Stream must go on. Yes, the crushing time must commence. I hope you all had a wonderful Saturday. It was pretty decent. I'll tell you about it. But oh man, I need a vacation. Ah, there we are. Okay. Let's get it started. We do it. Where are we at? All right. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Oh man, the kids really did try to put me to sleep. They were exhausted. They had a nice fun day out of the house, going and seeing friends and family, because a good friend of ours, their daughter had her baptism today. And so they were over there playing with their kids and stuff. Gumby, I really thought about it, but I didn't want to do a gaming stream during the normal stream schedule. Normally, I'll do it if... I don't know. Normally, I'll go do it if if it's like on a non-normal stream night, right? At least as far as I remember. Jeez, I think it's been... Dude, I think it's been January since we did like a game stream. What's up? Hey, Chonky. Welcome in. Oh, man. So yeah, so to catch you guys up, that huge... Oh! What's up, Max? I love the screen name, by the way. So to catch y'all up, what happened was we wrapped up a huge pen test of a very, very customized Kubernetes environment. And the report was absolutely monstrous because there was just so much to test. And not being as familiar with Kubernetes as I am with something like Active Directory, it was just going through and like triple checking everything. So I actually rewrote the report like 4 times, worked on it all last weekend, and had a lot of late days doing it, a lot of late nights doing it. And then this week we had training and I was assisting with that. So basically worked for 2 weeks straight without a day off. So I took my first kind of like break this afternoon and I played Sonic Frontiers with the kids. So that was nice. Yeah, the Kate's report seemed to go well. Managed to like eke it in under the wire there. Normally my report would have been done long before then. Like, and I'm talking like, so typically here's the usual workflow. We're given a week typically to do a report. And so we've got time to do it. So we're taking notes, we're preparing all the artifacts ahead of time. And then we have like a dedicated reporting week. One person on the team will be dedicated to doing the report, go through, do that. And then through the next week after that, it goes through like all the rounds of quality assurance. So a technical writer goes through and reviews it. And then our manager goes through and reviews it. Other people on the team might review it if we're questioning certain technical details. But there's a pretty strong quality assurance process that goes through that. And so at the end of the QA process is when it goes out to the client. And that was yesterday. So typically we would have had that thing packed up and ready to go before now, but I didn't get the report to QA until Monday afternoon, which was kind of late. And that was after working all weekend. So yeah, it was a bit of a beatdown. Do you use any AI as a writing partner for reporting, or is it frowned upon? I do a little bit. So I'm actually working on some internal tools, and unfortunately it's not going to be anything that's probably going to be released, because it's going to be very customized to how we do things in-house. But the general idea is we take a lot of telemetry during the assessment and we can bring it in and more or less normalize and index it. It's not really going into a database, but run it through a process like that. And then you have a living repository that you can go ask questions to. So super handy, for example, we've got operator logs, we've got operator notes, we've got C2 logs, all that stuff. It kind of puts it all together and I can go through and do some correlation on it that way. And occasionally, yeah, I'll use it for helping with writing a little bit if I'm just not quite sure how to write something, because we have an internal style guide. that says, hey, here's how things need to be. Sentences are in this structure. Your this thing needs to be italicized. This thing needs to be bolded, whatever. And so can go through and kind of check on it and say, so it's still very experimental, but it is kind of interesting. I think it improves the data of the report a little bit, but it doesn't make it faster because I'm having to go back and double check everything the AI tells me. So it's very much in the experimental phase. But it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I like it. Yeah, the chunkiest of environments. So I do have a new project coming up. And what kind of site is this? Oh, this is the Kubernetes GOAT site. So think of it as like damn vulnerable Kubernetes. Here, I'll drop a link to it for you. This is what I've got set up in the lab right now. And since I was just doing a whole bunch of Kubernetes work, I thought, well, that'd be fun. Let's go do that on the stream for a little bit. The Mac AIs. He does. So, but, oh yeah, so I actually did start a new project. So the Mythic MCP server, I found some gaps in that I've been filling up. But I'm actually using that as part of another project. And this one is for building some tooling for using with C2 infrastructures and helping it work out. So the Mythic MCP server is currently getting more features added to it to facilitate automated testing for this new thing I'm building. And it's an idea I've had. I'm not going to give it away just yet because I'm planning on probably releasing that MCP server and this new tool that's centered around beacon object files. I'll tell you about that. That's coming up. I'll probably put those together into maybe an interesting blog post and throw those out. But I am working on that now and actually made some good progress on it too. So that's what I had my little AI agents doing in the background while I was assisting with class. And the class I was assisting with, it was not an easy class too. It starts where a lot of people have trouble with, which is Kubernetes. Or not Kubernetes, I'm stuck in Kubernetes land. Kerberos. It starts at Kerberos and then works up from there. So it goes through Kerberos and common like abuses of Kerberos, then moves on to, oh crap, I'm trying to remember what's on day 2. ADCS, SCCM, Tradecraft is all covered on the second day. I think in a few, maybe one other thing. Day 3 is actually when we start working on like Azure and Entra stuff. And then day 4 is more Azure and Entra stuff with Okta, covering like how to abuse Okta in client environments and stuff. So many painful K topics. That's right. I got my dose of vitamin K this weekend. Okay, at least the alert worked for the gifted sub. That stupid thing. This thing right here, the buffer, it's supposed to overflow whenever somebody subscribes or gifts a sub. And so it will fill up as people like, if they donate bits to the stream, then it fills up. It's putting bits into the buffer, right? And eventually the buffer will overflow. A sub will overflow it and reset it immediately. For some reason, the subs hadn't been working. I don't know if there was just an error in the Twitch API and it wasn't getting the event pushes. I have no idea. So that was a good test. Yeah. Now the whole overlay here, actually, this part and this part down here, this actually was vibe coded by Harvey. Yeah. Harvey's my little AI agent. And so I kind of explained what I wanted, threw stuff in, tested it out. It's been pretty good. I was thinking about trying to actually have him vibe code. So here on the Be Right Back screen, right? We've got the cyber threat map from Checkpoint. I actually thought about having it to like when people are chatting during the break, it will drop them onto the map and like they'll start launching attacks. But I got to figure out how to like inject the JSON or the JavaScript to do that into the map. And I just have not had the time. So lots of fun there. Hang on, let me pull up the lab. I don't even remember where we were. I was so dead. I was dead. I was dunzos. let's just clear everything out. I mean, I remember where we were. We were looking at busting out of the container using Linux capabilities to get from the container up to the back into compromising the host. But that wasn't working because cry control was being a pain for some reason. Actually, hold on. That's all right. I don't want to abandon that just yet. I do want to take another swing at it because it was pissing me off. That's why. What kind of AI was I using? At the time when I made the overlay here, I was using Claude Code, and I'm still using Claude Code. However, Claude and Anthropic are kind of pissing me off because they released 4.7. Hey, guy, what's up? And 4.7 is better in some areas and absolute just garbage in others. It's really weird. And so I'm still using 4.6. And they really, really broke Claude Code after the big source map leak when like all the source code came out. So I'm currently, this is what I found out. So a lot of people, and I wasn't experiencing it at first. Then it started happening to me where like I was just burning through my 5-hour usage window. And I had no idea. And like usually I don't do anything extreme in there really. And it was just killing it. So what I had to do to finally get it to stop breaking stuff is downgrade to version 2.1.92 and turn off the adaptive thinking. And then finally, I'm actually getting my full usage window back. I'm using Pi now. Okay, someone else mentioned Pi. Hang on. Pi AF. Let me look at that real quick. Wait, how did the hype train start? I don't know how it started, but cool. Oh, I need to add a special effect for the hype train too. All right, let me see. Hold on. What's the site for Pi? Because I heard some other folks talk about it, and I've not had a chance to look at it yet. 4.7 is triggering. I know. That's like... That's okay, because the plan is they're just going to have Mythos go fix 4.7 and make no mistakes. That's what they're going to do. Shitty coding agent.ai. Are you for real? That's the actual site, Cypher? That is awesome. I needed that today. I needed that bit of levity so badly. Thank you, Cypher. Oh. All I saw was my daddy something and it went by. I wish I could pause it. Oh, it's always NPM. Actually, I did just see a thing that the guys over at Claude Code said the next release will be using Bun, and I guess they're dropping NPM. Minimal terminal coding harness. Can't talk today either. Let's see. Extend it with TypeScript for extensions, skills, shell prompts, templates, and themes. Oh, very cool. Very nice. Did they really play Doom inside of it? That's awesome. Play Doom while your agent's working. Oh yeah, you forgot to. I have to tell the agent to have a 10x AI or engineering personality, so it doesn't break anything. Oh yeah, definitely heard about the Axios hack. In fact, I just realized all my stuff's out of date. I have not been on my personal computer aside to stream, guys. That's how busy I've been. It's been kind of crazy. All right, let's go take a look at the Kubernetes Git a little bit more. Let's see. So the idea here is that from inside our privileged container, we can break out to the host system. And then, in theory, even depending on the setup, migrate to other systems. Yeah, actually, I had a really good so Freedom DAO. I had actually had a really good comment from one of the folks in chat because we had covered that and a lot of the pitfalls that happen with NPM security. And he was actually able to use the information we talked about on stream to go and have a really intelligent conversation about their risk with NPM in the environment. So that was really cool. I was very happy to get that feedback. All right, let's see. So this is running on 1233. Let me just refresh this. This has been up for I don't know how long. That session is probably dead. It's probably dunzos. Oh, has this thing been up this whole time? Uptime, 26 days. Oof. Oof. I probably need to restart that. Because we were trying to get some tools on here to get it to work. Let me check something. So one of the things we did is we looked at the cap SH. Hang on, I've got the walkthrough up on my other computer real fast. Dude, let me see. What did we have here? Yeah, so we started by looking at what Linux caps do we have? What capabilities? So let's just run through this again real quick. So we had a whole bunch in here, and some of the cool ones to look at are if you have cap trace. Let me do something real quick. Let's do rep bounding, and then convert all of the commas to new lines. There we go. That's easier to read. There we go. If we have cap ptrace, there's interesting things we can do there where we could actually go through and read memory of processes. And this puts us into an interesting situation. So this container is running what's called privileged, which means it has much less separation between this system and what you'd normally expect to see in a container, right? In a container, if you'd run something like the PS command, you get like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 processes. But in here, if we run the PS command, right? And I'm just going to head it real quick. You see, we start seeing a lot of other processes we don't normally see inside of a container. Let's see, who's that? Hey, Ozma, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. All right, what did Gumby say?
RNO Gumby cheered 100 bits and says, "Hype train."
Hype train!
RNO Gumby cheered 100 bits and says, RNO Gumby cheered 100 bits and says,
That was weird. It's like it tried to play the same one again. Let's see. Shut up, baby. I know it. The only reason they're using bun is because they bought bun. Oh, I know. I saw. They got all the buns. Well, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, though, Freedom, that OpenAI did. They acquired, what's the company? The one that makes Ultraviolet for Python package management. Astral? Is that the name of it? I think it's Astral. Yeah, Astral. They're the guys that make Ultraviolet, and OpenAI acquired them. So it's kind of interesting because it looks like Cloud Code's going all in on like bun style TypeScript, and then OpenAI, which I've been using actually quite a bit of Codex. I've got it. I'm testing a bunch of stuff out with that because I got the hookup on it. Can't keep paying for AI subs for real, but they're going all in on the Ultraviolet and Python side. So I like UV a lot. It is super handy. Let's see. Let's look at the... So here in Mount, we have a lot of stuff happening here. So let's go see what we've got. I know what I'm looking for. I just want to know how to actually extract it. Let me see here. So I can explain it and I can show y'all. Okay, so that actually just put it everywhere in here. What's cutting off on the screen? Oh, you're talking about the music overlay? Hold on. Yep. That make you happier? Now it's up a little higher. Here we go. I wanted to see where... No, the first letter's not cut off. Oh no, man. I've got this... I have this screen tuned. I know exactly pixel perfect where it cuts off. Yeah, no, like right here, that's the O. Overlay. There's nothing over here. Well, I mean, it changed it because it changed the width of it, but... No, that's good. Hey, X, what's up? Happy Saturday. All right, let's see. Because, actually, to it, let's do this. ls, la, root. Let's go see. Because I believe in here we had... Yeah, /host system. Now, that's a weird one, and this actually could be any path. So what I was trying to look at here was in the mounts... What's mounted actually in the host system here? Ah, here we go. This would be like a dead giveaway. See how we actually have like a dev device mounted on /host system? And it's real, right? So that would be one of the things that I would take a look at when checking out, like, if I'm in a privileged container and I can see that I'm in one, I've got a lot of capabilities. I got a lot of processes. Boom. I know. So it's so cool, Osmo, because I get so many folks from across the Atlantic. And actually, it's kind of cool for this particular time slot. We've got folks that come in from a lot of the European area, but then also coming in from like Australia and Shanghai and that kind of area too. So it's been really cool because I get lots of folks in, and it makes me very happy. I'm always sending him jokes about boomerangs and, hey, good morning, sunshine. Like, I'll schedule a message to come up about, I don't know, like 5 a.m., whatever his time zone is. I have to go look it up, but I'll schedule a message for like 5 a.m. It's like, hey, good morning, sunshine. Make sure and put your harness on so you don't fall off the earth. Stupid jokes like that. Oh, so when you've got the stream in full screen, it's cutting it off. Ah, okay. Getcha. Maybe I need to shrink it a little bit. A lot of the rural Quebecers are actually a lot like French Texas. I believe that. From what I have been told about the Free State of Quebec, I believe it. Dialing in from Melbourne. See, that's what I like. That's the one thing that's really hard about giving up this time slot is if I could stream earlier in the day in the US, I'm in Texas, I would totally do it. However, I get so many cool folks from all over the place around here. Yeah, hold on. Let me minimize this real quick. So what we've been working on is... There, will that make you happier if I bring it over a little bit? We're working on some Kubernetes stuff, like just hacking around. I have not done a deep dive into Kubernetes in probably 3 years. So I thought it was time for a refresher course. Let's see here. All right. So anyway, so what I was showing here, let me back this thing up because we've had. All right, fine. You know what I'm gonna do? Just refresh this. Boom. All right. So looking at this system, right? So we're just assuming we've got access into some kind of container. Maybe we popped it. Maybe we got a reverse shell out of it. Who knows? This particular exercise from Kubernetes Goat just gives us access to the pod directly. I feel you. So if we want to see kind of like what's the lay of the land, let's assume we don't know anything about this container. We've got one thing that's helpful already, and that is the container is running us as root. So if we gain access to any resources outside this container, we're going to be able to kind of access them as root. Did it not play Echo 23? That's weird. It should have. Let's see. So that's the first thing. After we, that's one thing is to kind of notice when we're looking at like, hey, we're in the container, we're getting some situational awareness. One of the things we could also do is, again, that cap sh print command. And I think, what did I say for that? Hang on. So I had it up here. There we go. Bounding. So this tells us all the Linux capabilities that we've got set up in the box, right? So a lot of interesting ones in here. Like, for example, we have mount permissions somewhere in here. We have change root, ptrace. Those are kind of big ones in here. There's a lot you can do with each of these different ones. Capnet raw is kind of cool because that means we can do raw packet captures on the physical interface for the server. So that's pretty cool. Hey, Toad, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. So one of the things also we can check out in here, like I was talking about earlier, is if we just run a mount, and I'm going to grep for, I'm going to do it like this and see if it gets me. There we go. I knew this was already here, but actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. What could we kind of actually grep for? If we look for dev star in here, what can we see? Okay, cool. We've got some devices actually in here. And we can even kind of break this down a little bit more if we said, hey, it has to start with that. Then what we see is, we see there's a virtual disk here from dev, whatever VDA2 is. It's mounted in a couple of these different spots in here, right? So one thing we can go take a look at is what's in host system. This kind of gives us an interesting spot to look at. This could be SDA1, SDA5, whatever. It could be a different disk, but this tells us, hey, there's some kind of device in here that we've got access to. So it behooves us to go check out what's in the host system here. So if we just look at that, boom. Then notice that, okay, we're in a completely different Linux root system here. So the way this is kind of working. Oh, it did play, but it was really quiet. I gotcha. Let's see. Where's my notepad? Or my paint. Here we go. So what had happened was this right here. So you got to remember, whenever you are running these containers, what we're doing is we're actually operating inside of a server. And in Kubernetes, we're usually operating inside of a pod. So this is going to be our server right here. Server. Boop. And then inside of Kubernetes, we're going to have pods like this. So there's our pod running. And our pod, it can have multiple containers kind of running in it, right? So we could have one that's maybe like our front end UI. We've got maybe a database. So let's do that. So let's say this is UI. Let's say this is Nginx. And let's say this is our database one right here. So as we're running through these, any of these we've gotten access to might have different capabilities. So let's say we're on the database one. Now inside the server, we've got all sorts of different systems running here. Now, one thing to remember is that when we're running our kernel in here, the kernel actually is controlling this pod, right? It's not a VM where this is running in a separate system. The pseudo Linux operating system that's running inside the pod actually is using the underlying system kernel. It's just being restricted. So when we look at this, this means that if we have devices in here, right? So we've got, like, in this case, it was dev VDA2, right? We've got this being presented here. This can actually be mounted over into that pod, right? And then it depends on where we're going to mount it. So in this case, it's mounted in /host system, right? So what that tells us is system. What that tells us is that we now have direct access to this. So instead of some other directory, it could be any folder on this parent server that gets shared over to it. It could be different Docker volumes. But in this case, we've got the full disk access, which is a big no-no. I know I've done this on a penetration test, which is going through and creating my own pod configuration and mounting something from the root file system into a container so I'd have access to it. And so that's what we're seeing right here is this is actually the file system of the root server. See that swap image? Damn, it's chunky. This one right here, we've got full access to this guy. So if we really wanted to go through and work on this, one thing we could do is we could actually kind of chroot jail ourselves into this. I hadn't had to do a chroot jail in forever. So what we'll do is we'll say host system, and we're gonna run bash, just like this. So now if I look at my present working directory, we're there. Look at what we got. We see the exact same output in here. But now we should have cry control in here. And let's see. I think is it get pods? No. Oh, it's just pods. I'm not super familiar with cry control. Now this one is a little bit different. In a typical Kubernetes deployment, like for Kscope, we would see a lot of pods being listed up in here. Hang on, let me check something real quick. Yeah, it should have showed us everything in here. Let me see if I can tell it to do that by like all the namespaces real quick. I think... Let me double check something real fast. Hang on. Let's do something. So here on... let me pull up the Kubernetes worker node, because that's where this one's actually running at. So we bring this up. So we're going to compare this to like, what does it look like on the back end right here? So if I do try CTL pods, right? Here we actually see all the pods coming up. However, I think I know what the problem is. If I sudo up, right? Sudo su root. And then I run that same command, try CTL pods, right? We're seeing that same output happening over here, right? So let's try something quick. Let's try su2, I think it's a local user. All right, let's see. I wish there was a way to like clear this out so it wasn't right here at the bottom. But anyway, now let me try that. Cry control. Oops, cry control. CTL pods. And now you see we see all of them. So it's just because we were acting as the root user, and which didn't have the configuration and the local user did. That's what we were seeing. Why is there so much swap being used? I have no idea, man. Let's see. Hold on, let me catch up on the chat real quick. Let's see. Try it with tac all namespaces. So I actually do want to try that because I want to say that should have worked. So we're still running as the local user. You can barely see it down there. Let me exit out of this. And if I run that with... I'm actually not very familiar with cry control. This is a thing a little bit different. Yeah, see, cry control doesn't have that one in there. But if we compare this, let's compare it real quick. What namespace do I have? Let's try namespace default. Because we can specify a namespace with this one. And anytime you see a namespace, just think of it means like a logical grouping of things. Yeah, Control L unfortunately doesn't work either. Well, let's see, default. Yeah, so that one's not coming back with anything. What about this one? What about if we look at secure middleware? So I believe we ran into this kind of before. But you know what? This is actually less important because think about this now. We're effectively on this system as root. So if you want proof of that, let's cd to home. We'll look at this. So there's our SSH, right? Let me cd to .ssh. In fact, if you really wanted to prove that we were running as root on the, let's just we'll cat the etc shadow file, right? So here's our local user here. If we hop back over to the worker node, we do the exact same thing, right? Cat Etsy shadow right here. Look at this. It is ZZV5M8. ZZV5M8. So we actually are operating as if we had full access down to the computer in there. Yeah, that too, Devar. And so I haven't figured out if the root user just didn't have a proper configuration in there, or if this was a hardening step they put in. But honestly, if I've gotten to the point where I have moved out of the container, right? If I've moved out of the pod, really out of the container, but whatever, out of the pod, and I'm down here operating in the server context, I'm just going to backdoor the server and get a connection there, and then start working on getting access to whatever I want to that way. So there's lots of different ways you could approach this in here. This is a kind of a trimmed down one, but that is one way we could actually go through and do it. I guess I need to go read up on cry control more, because containerd, I'm mostly familiar with Kubernetes running Docker, but now a lot of times Kubernetes is running containerd instead. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I'm used to using kube control also in here. Oh, so what remote desktop software is this? This one right here is, let me put this back over it. This one right here is called Royal TS. And I know it's very tiny, but you can see it right there, Royal TS. This one over here is just a remote terminal that was set up as part of the pod in here. Yeah. So as we're in here, right, if I look at this right here, we've got authorized keys. So I can go cat the authorized keys. There's nothing in here. So if we wanted to just set ourselves up with SSH access, boom, we just come in, we add an authorized key, bam, we're in there. And this would be as the root user. And we could also go say, let's go look at home, right? We got local user. There you go. So we've got this one here. So same thing. Also, if I was in here, I'm going to start looking at maybe that bash history. Go look in there and see if there's like any sensitive commands in it. All sorts of other stuff in here. So, yeah, lots of fun stuff. Let me see, is there anything else they suggested doing? Actually, yeah, there's one more in here that we could do. So if we go through and we cat Etsy, Kubernetes, what is it? I think it's kubelet.conf. Yeah, so actually with this, we could go through and we could remotely get access to whatever's running in here. Actually, do I have kubectl? I do. So with kubectl, we could pretty much do anything we wanted to on top of cry control. So like for here, we could do like get pods. Even running as the root user, because it should use that configuration in Etsy. Hang on. Let me try this again. Kubectl get pods. Okay, so he had it in here because I knew local user had the kube control set up, the cuddle, as you'd also call it, right here. Could you work on the same task in Docker? Kind of, for the most part. So the difference is when you're dealing with Kubernetes versus Docker is, if you think about this, so on a Kubernetes, it's a multi-server infrastructure. Here, hang on. Kubernetes, if you think about it, is a way to scale Docker or any other container. Usually you're probably going to be running containerd. But rather than having like your personal PC running over here, where you've got Docker running inside of it, and then you've got like a collection of containers running, right? So this is running like on your Windows or your Linux PC in here. Instead, what you've got is you'll have like a whole collection. So you'll have like a master node, and then you'll have like a bunch of worker nodes in here. And then each of those will be deploying a pod. And inside that pod, then you'll have more containers. I'm trying to draw it in here. Yeah. So these would be like your pods where you've got multiple containers kind of running in here. So depending on what's running, you could actually go through and talk to a lot of different things, right? So you could have multiple copies of this one running in here. You could have a backup copy running on the other one. So this one right here would be like, say, like your master node, and these would be your workers. And so the master node is actually sitting here communicating with each of these and handling out sending jobs and load balancing where all these different containers go to. So if they're running with Docker, yeah, you could do the same thing. The main difference is this is the fundamental work unit for Docker. Docker is these containers right here. The container is the fundamental work unit to this. And you can kind of combine them together using compose, but ultimately it's still the container that's doing the heavy lifting. Over here, it's pods. And pods are collections of containers. One or more. Could be 1, could be 100. Doesn't matter. I have not messed with Kubernetes ES. Yeah, I haven't tried that real quick. Yeah. Hey, no problem, Zach. All right. Is there a preferred programming language to use when you want to bind homemade PCBs to a PC? Like with the flight sim instrument. Oh yeah. Damn it. I wish Foil Hats was in here because he would know. I think a lot of those PCBs, I want to say they're written like in C++. Yeah, typically they're going to be running something like a C or C++ offshoot. Actually, there are some other ones that'll support Lua or JavaScript, but I'd say your best bet might just be sticking with, or there is also MicroPython. Yeah, I had to go double check. Really, C# for like an ESP32? I hadn't heard of that. Let me see. What is Kubernetes ES? Now you got me questioning myself. Is there a special version of it? Because I mean, the only thing that came up with was just regular Kubernetes. So, for the most part, though, whenever you're dealing with Kubernetes, it's good for two situations. One, when you want to tinker with something. Two, whenever you need to horizontally scale something in here. Because if you think about it, in here, the idea is these are containers and they're not growing deeper. Like, you're not typically adding more resources to them. If this is like the star container, then you might just need multiple copies of it running to handle additional load in here. Boom, boom, boom. So these are all the same one. This one's got a different one in here. We'll say that's the triangle. So the triangle only has one copy of this pod running. However, the master node has decided, hey, we need replicas, we need load balancing. So now we've got 3 copies of this star container kind of running in here. Oh, what's the plural of Kubernetes? Oh. I don't know. Usually I just call it Kates in here. Because I'm lazy. Kubernetes is too much to say. Let's see. But yeah, so that's the basic idea. So if we had the ability to go through and going back to like the previous example, right? So on this machine, we've got our device, and this guy is mounted directly up into this pod right here. So if we get into the pod and then we can access the entire device, then we've got access to the root file system. Now, sometimes it might be that, hey, you don't get that lucky, but you get access to the Kubernetes, maybe the kube control. So with that, you could come through and you could go make a pod tailor-made to go compromise the cluster by spinning up and mounting the root system directly into a container that you've got access to. That's something I've done in previous assessments that I've been on.
The mouse is invisible? Well, I mean, it's probably really tiny because it turns into a crosshair right here. But there's the mouse. Before I had to rebuild this computer, it used to be pink. I purposely made the mouse bright pink to make it easier for people to follow on stream. In French, we call it redondance. French is a funny language. I mean, English is a funny language too, not to cast any aspersions. But I like it. It just always seems like to make something a little extra French, you have to put an extra letter on the end. All right, let me see what else we've got here. So that one was fairly straightforward. Like, for example, here, if we wanted to, we could go build a new pod configuration and deploy it, and then compromise other pods. Actually, we could just cube exec over into this. So hold on, we could actually do this. What is it? I think it's tac cube config. Actually, here, let me show you this. So if I run git pods, right? Oh, hold on. That was running as the local user, right? So if I run that again, kubectl git pods, it doesn't have the local config in here. So what happens is like, okay, we've got an error. But you can actually go through and tell it which one to use. So you can tell it kube config, and then to just use etsy kubernetes, what is it? kubelet.conf. That tells it how to actually go talk to the master node and get all this information down. Really? We tried namespaces all. Will that work? Or is it, actually, I think it's just capital A. I think that will work. Let me see. RIP. Okay. So this one has weird kind of restrictions down to it. Let me do something real quick. Hold on. CD. I think it's in .cube. Yeah, and then in the config file. Oh, it is just the config, actually. So, if we cat that, this is actually the copy of the cube config in here, which I think is actually different than the one that's in, what was it? Kubelet, that's it. Oh, I can't do that from here. Hold on. Copy that. Paste. See, this one's different. We actually have the certificate keys and everything in here. So if we wanted to, though, as the root user, and we saw that was there, what we could do is we could just copy from home local user, what is it? .cube. And then I think copy that here. So now we've got the .cube. So if we do kubectl git pods, now it has a configuration to actually register. So we should see all the pods come up now. There we go. Because now we've actually got the proper config happening in here. Just wipe it and start over again. I probably will. This is a testing lab that we've got right now. So the lab currently looks like this. So currently what we've got is we've got a bunch of stuff for Active Directory set up in here. So we've got a domain controller. We've got an ADCS server. So we've got a certificate authority. And then we've got a bunch of stuff for SCCM. I forget how many systems it are. It's like, we have like the primary site server. We had the system management server. I think we've got the database. So all of this is like 3 separate servers in here. I think there's a 4th and 5th one even. And then we've also got like our workstation. That's a weird workstation. So we've got a whole bunch over here. But then over here for the Kubernetes side, we've got the master node here. And then we've got our worker node as well. Just like this. Yeah, pretty much. And so what I was thinking about doing is actually adding a little bit of a partition here, and then having our simulated internet live over here where we've got like an actual, I'm gonna do this in red, we've got like an actual like firewall. And what would happen is over here where we're gonna have our little attacker, right? Little horns. Our little attack box here. We'll have a web server kind of running in the Kubernetes node. So he'll have to compromise the Kubernetes worker node, jump over to the master node. And I haven't done this before, but I know there's a way to actually link this server to where it would have like AD creds. And then from the master node, have something in here where it could then compromise the workstation. And then from the workstation, it could then either use SCCM or it could use ADCS to then compromise the domain, like this. So that's the kind of attack path we'll eventually have in here. For now, I'm just kind of tinkering around with it. Can we do that with proxy chains? Depending on how it's set up, a lot of times we won't even need proxy chains. But yes, you could. Proxy chains is what you need whenever you're going to be jumping, like you're going to be pivoting through these systems. Chances are more than likely when you compromise one, it's going to just call back to us directly. And same thing here. Now we might have something set up where like maybe the ADCS server is completely internally isolated. So in this case, it will have to like call back through workstation and actually have like a proxy pivot somewhere in here to connect back. But I think that's kind of where maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. All right. Have you worked with this on the SDM? With software-defined networking? I have not. So in this system, what we're running this on is called Ludus. Let's see. If you go to ludus.cloud, this is the system. It is a really cool kind of like software-defined, and rather than a software-defined network, it's more like a software-defined network. Network in the fact that you can actually come in real easily. Pay no attention to this because that's in the enterprise version, which I don't have. But with this, actually here, hold on. I've got the config I can show you. Here we go. Here's the configuration file. So from here, inside of Ludus, what we've done is we've defined what the different pieces of the range are going to be. So there's our domain controller, our workstation, our SCCM distro server, our SCM SQL server, let's see, our SCCM management server, and then our ADCS certificate server. And then, let's see, is that the last one? No, that was, what was this one for? Oh, that was just the configuration for the site server. Okay, so that's our site server configuration. We have our dev box, so we can just have a landing zone to work in. And then now we have our Kubernetes boxes. So all these machines are actually defined like this. It's like software-defined Active Directory with extra stuff in here. So it's really cool to do that. And down here, if we wanted to, at the very end, we could actually put restrictions saying, hey, by the way, these machines live in this VLAN. VLAN 1 is only allowed to talk to VLAN 2 on these ports. VLAN 3 is only allowed to talk to VLAN 7 on these ports. All that kind of jazz. So we could actually go through, and that's where these firewalls are going to come in at, is they're just going to be Ludus restrictions in here. It's strictly going to be like port blocking. Interesting computer before chips. Oh no. What's this? Oh yeah, these are pretty cool. Hang on, let me bring that one up because this is pretty cool. A lot of the very first computers, they were not electrical; they were mechanical.
Can you believe it? In an era before the
so in this one right here, this was kind of what they were doing to like tune everything back
to Earth using nothing but clockwork. This is the Globus, a purely mechanical navigation computer with 0 microchips on.
And if you think about it, I mean, this was a navigational system, but they've had computers for things like bomb sites. What was it? The Norton bomb site, I think, that was used in World War II. And that was a big deal if if anybody was to get a hold of that, because that was on U.S. bombers. I don't know if the British bombers had them as well, but if they were to get a hold of that, that would have been a big deal, because that was a kind of computer designed to like get the bombs on target as best it could. But yeah, it was mechanical instead of electrical, like we're used to. Very cool. In fact, there was some talk for a long time talking about analog computers kind of becoming very important again, because of the way they can do certain calculations. You know, the gyroscopic box that ran all on vacuums. Yeah, that kind of stuff's so cool. All right, not sponsored by Jocko yet. Someday, Jocko. Someday. Huh, I just noticed that my shirt has a little green on it. So that's actually a green dog right there. All right, let's see here. What is this one? I just want to take a look at some of the other labs that are in here. That's just talking about the CIS benchmarks. We'll skip that one. Let's see. The node port exposed. What is this one? So this scenario, we see another misconfiguration that may give attackers access to internal services and non-exposed services. Simple misconfiguration made when creating Kubernetes services that, and also the cluster setup configuration. Okay. So if any of the users exposed any service within the Kubernetes cluster with node port, this means that the nodes where the Kubernetes clusters are running don't have any firewall or network security enabled. Oh, interesting. So we need to see some unauthenticated, or we need to see something that's unauthenticated and unauthorized. Okay. Well, how do we do this one? How do we access this one? Let's go try this real quick. Cube control, get nodes wide. Going wide. Me. So what is this one going to tell us here? So we've only got, so this gets us our actual nodes. These are the physical machines running. So we only have two. We've got a control node, and then we've got a worker node in here. So the control nodes don't actually run containers by default. There is a way to make them do that, but you don't. That's like a non-standard configuration. Out of the box, they don't run any of the containers. These guys do. Interesting that it says the container runtime is Docker, even though I know it's running container D instead. Most aviation's still using those gyroscopic systems, but the digital ones are for redundancy. Oh, okay. Very cool. I would have thought I would have heard that by now, because I like watching Pilot Debrief, because he makes, ironically, all the crazy stuff he talks about, like, hey, here's how these people screwed up and crashed and died. Makes decent background noise while I'm working. The most famous mechanism of Antikythera is the most ancient device of its type, discovered in an ancient Greek shipwreck dating back to around 200 BC. I believe I saw something about that. And yeah, I think that was, there were other examples too where they had computers, but they were very basic. They weren't like generalized computers. That was something really hard to do in a mechanical sense. It's much easier to do it in an electrical sense, having a general purpose computer and then you write code for it. So for example, a lot of people talk about, hey, by the way, they went to the moon on, you know, 1/1,000,000th of the computing power that your phone has, right? They did, but those computers were designed to do one thing and one thing only, which is handle their operation and talk to the other machines, and that was it, and like relay that data. All right, let's see here. Okay, so when Kubernetes creates a node port service, it allocates a port from a range specified in the flags that are defined in the Kubernetes cluster configuration. Didn't we do that? So do we need to go check that now? So we did wide, we got that. I don't get where it's specifying this port in here, 3303. There's our internal IP address. Find the open ports. In this case, you can use your traditional security. Oh, okay. So we're actually supposed to go search for those. Okay. Do I even have Nmap installed in here? We can get it real fast. Let's see. Let's go Nmap it real quick. We'll do T5. I forget how to do the, what is it for no service enumeration? Just check for open ports. We can just leave it like that. And only show me the open ones on 10.9. Is it 20.1? 20.20. Okay, so it did have that one in there. Interesting that it's got BGP open. Oh, I forget what the... Okay, you know what? Fine, we'll just run. Is it service light? Like that? I don't remember what it is. Oh, well. I just wanted to let it see what those ones are. I'm curious to see what it comes up. I mean, 22 is pretty obvious. I want to see what it comes... What Nmap comes back with on these other ports right here. What is it for that? Hold on. That's going to bug me. Oh, it's version light. Okay. That's all right. So, what did it come back with in here? So, we see that 10.250 was Golang web server. 3003 is a WorkServe HTTPD. Okay. So what are we supposed to see with this? We could just netcat it. Let's try that. So this was, yeah, 10.9.2020. So if we just netcat that sucker real quick, and we'll go on 3003. Is that the right port? Yeah, 000. Why ain't no bringing me back anything? What if we curl it? Let's see what happens. We throw a tag V on there, because I want to see it. 10.9. Can't type. Can't type. 10.9.2020 on 3.0003. Oh, okay. Look at this. So info, they accidentally exposed the metadata DB port. Oof. But that's not good. Okay, so that was a real simple one. Basically, something exposed that shouldn't have been. All right. In fact, I think we could... Let me try something real quick here. Because normally this would be referred to as the metadata DB in here. Yeah, I want to try something. I want to set the host header. Because by default, it's going to infer the host header from what we've got in here. Metadata DB. We're just going to hack around and find out real quick. I just want to see what this does. Yeah, that should be correct. Oh, what did we do for this before? Hang on. We did this in the SSRF exercise. I'm going to find something real quick. I mean, that's exposed, but I don't know if we can actually get to it in here. It looks like it was kind of working. Because what this should do is it's going to do a GET request here, host metadata DB. And see, up here, the host field was the actual, what we used in the URL, right? Down here, it's actually showing host as metadata DB, but it's still not coming back. Let me see if I can try this real quick. Let's see if we do latest secrets Kubernetes goat. What I'm doing is I'm referencing back to the SSRF exercise that we did. Requested URL was not found on the server. RIP. Here, let me try this real quick. There might be another way we can kind of tinker with this. Ah, RIP. So I don't think they actually let us get access to it that way. I don't know. I want to try something else real quick. Vim, ooh, actually, I don't know if this will work on... Actually, yeah, it should work on this one. Let's go... I want to edit Etsy host real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in something in here. So we're going to say this was 10.9.20.20. And we're going to call this metadata DB. Yeah, metadata tac DB. So now if I come back here and I just curl for, shit, I needed that. Metadata DB. Right, so, okay, we do get the correct connection, right? Everything looks good. We're going to the same IPv4 host. We've got the right header field in here. So now I want to try this. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to put in metadata DB in here and see if we can actually pull that metadata DB. Take that out. So what did the host value come back as? Oh, it came back as this. Okay, so I don't want that. I do want this right here. Hold on. We'll just combine these two. I want to see if I can get that secret value out of here. Damn. All right. So now it's not working. That was a really short one. Let's see. Oh, what is this one? Analyzing the crypto miner container. So it's commonly seen that most container users download the image from the public container registries for like Docker Hub. We've seen a ton of hacks and compromises in these, and the attackers abusing these by uploading the container image, which has a crypto miner, to use the cluster's resources. So in this scenario, we see one simple and very common way of exploiting these vulnerabilities in public container images. Ooh, nice. So the goal here is to learn to analyze the container image, understand Kubernetes jobs and working with them. Ooh, fun. And learn about container image manifests and the backdoors for crypto miners. Excellent. All right, so let's go check this out real quick. Do I have kubectl on here? I do. Okay, hang on. Let me cd2.cube. Did I already set this up? I think I did. Awesome. Thank you, past me. All right, kubectl get, I think it's jobs. Yeah, that's the one. Hang on. Let me bring this up on the other screen so I can take a look at it. So if we see in here, we see a couple. But let's run it for all the namespaces. So we only see 2 in here. Batch check job and hidden in layers. Q benchmaster. Okay, so he was running the benchmark ones up here, I believe. So I think that's why he's got these ones. Duration 26 days. He must have just started that sucker. Let's see. Okay, so we can go through and we can describe what that job is. So let's go do that real quick. So we'll do kubectl. What was it? Describe job. Okay. So the job we want to describe. Describe job. In fact, let me make this a little bit bigger for y'all to read. There we go. And we want to do this one right here. This batch check job right here. All right, so what we see is running in the default namespace. We have a couple of labels set up for it. No annotations. Let's see. And the image is Mad Hukula, Katescope, batch check. Okay. So we see one that's active. Pod for this active. Do I see anything in here that looks suspicious, though? Nothing outright. Nothing that says, hey, by the way, hidden crypto miner in here. All we see is the image that's running. All right, so then we can get the pod information by running the below command to showcase it. Okay, so get pods, and the one that has the label to it. Okay, so we're going to get the pods, and we're going to filter it by this label right here. Okay, let's do that. Get pods. I'm going to try it without that, just by filtering with the label. Okay. That told us which pod it is, and it is pod batch check H95BT. All right, cool. Cool. Excellent. So now once we get that pod, we can actually tell it which one we actually want to get. So we'll do get pods. We'll give it the actual name. So this is a job saying, hey, we're going to be running in a series of pods, but we don't know what the actual pod that was up and running is. So now we do. So actually, this should be just get pod. And he did the output in YAML. I'm curious what it does. Okay. Okay, so in YAML output, we get more information to it. A lot of the similar information, like what we get for the annotations, labels. Let's see. Owner reference, the container. Termination message goes to termination log. Mount paths, it's got the service account, which is expected. That's nothing special. Let's see. So for volumes, what do we have associated? I didn't see anything over here in tolerations that looks, from what I know, where to go for it. Not ready and unreachable. Let's see. So we have Kubernetes API access, service token. conditions, status. Anything else in here that looks... QoS class is best effort, which I think a lot of them run that. So what are we supposed to see inside here? Okay, so we can see the pod is running from the batch check Docker container, and then we can perform analysis on the container engine. Okay. I wish there was something in here that said, like, hey, by the way, here's a hint that this container is running like a backdoor crypto miner, and you want to go take a look at it. That's the way I would have liked to have seen this run it, but still an interesting way to go through. So what we can do is, actually, I don't know if this is going to work. Is it? Well, we'll try it. No such image. Latest. Now, which one were we running in here? Did it have a particular image tag that it was using? Nope, we just have the image here. Where's the label for it, though? Always pull, batch check, volume mounts. All right, well, let's do that. Let's just pull it down then. If we were running that on another system, we'd be able to look at it. On this system, we don't have it pulled down yet. So what we're going to do is, we saw from Kube Control what this guy was running, right? So this is why we're going to pull down that container. If it had a particular version to it, like if it had like colon V020, whatever, then we want to pull that exact same version for it. This one, it really doesn't. It's just the latest version in here. So now we can run the Docker history command against it. So here we see we've got our working dir set to app. So every time we have a, what you're seeing here is basically every step that's in that Docker file that says, hey, from this image, do this, run this command, set this directory, everything. Each of those forms a layer. So each of these is the layers that we see in here. And in fact, we don't necessarily even have to do this on here. Because this came from Docker Hub, we could actually go look at that in Docker Hub. But if this was a private registry that maybe someone got access to and backdoored, then we wouldn't have the Docker Hub interface. That's why we're going to do it through here. But you actually can see this in the Docker Hub interface. Let's see. So copies app arm64 app, and then it runs pip install trufflehog. Oh. That's interesting, right? If you don't know what trufflehog is, it's designed to go through and rifle through systems and look for secret keys. So this is what the Shai-Hulud systems were using here. They were going through and they were running this to find AWS and Azure and a bunch of other secret keys on those systems. That's funny. Innocent little pig, I know. I remember one time, I don't remember how old I was. I was young though. I was like, I don't know, maybe 10, maybe 12 years old. And I was just chilling with my dad one day. We were watching Jeopardy. And I was half watching it. He was just kind of, he was doing the dad watch, right? Eyes kind of like half closed. You can't change the channel because he's watching it. That kind of watching it. And I forget what I was doing. And a question came up and it was like, basically like, this animal is used for hunting for wild mushrooms or something. And I was like, oh, that's pigs. And my dad's like, no, it's not pigs. And sure enough came up and it was pigs. And it's because I saw an old episode of a cartoon called Tailspin and they went hunting for truffles with the pig. Who says cartoons don't teach you anything? Oh, interesting. Hey, Ken, what's up, man? Dude, Tailspin was a really great show. My kids love the old 90s TV shows. You know what they're watching right now? They're watching the OG Pokemon. They're all about it. I think there were some like more recent shows for kids they were watching. Like they watched Paw Patrol and some other ones. But really, like, even the super old school Thomas the Tank Engine with like the little clay trains, they loved that. They like that old school stuff. So supposing 3,000, then we got it working here. So is there anything else we're supposed to see in here? Hold on, so what is he doing here? Because I didn't see an HTTPS in here. All we saw was app.tar. So here's what it's running. Let me copy this real quick. I'm going to copy this line out. And we'll throw it over into here real quick. And then we'll format this. So what we're saying is we're saying run this guy here. And I'm gonna format this like it would look in a more or less in a Docker file config. So let me bring this over here. That's gonna close that, and then so like I didn't see anything about it curling anything down or building anything. So how did he get to that other step with this? Boozer. So what's funny is, you guys have seen Peaches. She looked kind of like Rubble from Paw Patrol. And so when we first got her, and Honey Badger was still kind of learning how to speak and doing the thing where, like, you know, kids just kind of say the first thing comes to mind. He would call her Peaches Rubble. Peaches Rubble. Because she kind of looked like Rubble from Paw Patrol. Oh, that's where you saw it, Ken? Dude, I was a kid when that came out. Yeah. That was part of my childhood. Oh, where's my water at? I need to get some water. Oh, so his is different here. See this? Look at this. So his command, let me bring this up. Here, you can actually see this now. So what it was doing was APK add, no cache, curl this guy right here. And then it was going to run it, right? So what it was doing is it was overriding the system startup binary, or it wasn't overriding it, it was executing it out to that, and then looking at this, and then it was removing it from temp. So that's how he got the curl command. This one is not doing that though, but that's okay because there's another one in here, hidden in layers. Let me take a look at this one, because there's a way to actually go back and pull all these missing pieces out of here, right? As it's going through and stepping through it. I just forget what it is. Hey, Monkey, what's up, man? I also usually say the first thing that comes to my mind. Yeah, me too. My mouth gets ahead of me sometimes. Works out well for streaming, though. Because then when I say something extraordinarily stupid, y'all just get a kick out of it. Hold on, how did he walk through this one? Let's see. Let me try this. He's doing the inspect with this one right here. I want to try this. Let's see. So it's just inspect and then the container. That's the history. Hold on. Yeah, mouse mode. No, that's fine. So that's not showing up in here. Hold on, let me go double check this real quick. Because what he did was... Oh, in this case, he just did install truffle hog. That's what he did. We could also actually go into this container and look at... Oh yeah, look at this. So what he's doing, hold on, let's bring back up the VS Code. So what he's doing here, if we walk through this, is if it's an ARC64, right, AMD 64, then it's going to tar extract with compression this gzip, right? It's not downloading it, but it's got it. And then once it exposes that, it drops it over into the root directory. Then it removes itself out of there. See that? So that was part of the build step. And then it sets .app as the entry point. So if we wanted to go take a look at that, let's see. This is our... So if we actually wanted to go dig into this and like say we've got something that's telling us, hey, this is a crypto miner. What can we do with that? Let's see. I gotta remember how to do this. We can actually go run it and then do it this way. Let's see. Actually, let me see if this one will work, because there should be a way to export this out of this system in here. So let me cd back to root. So what we could do is we'll make a container for it. So docker create name, let's call this crypto miner. Crypto miner, not miner, container. And then we'll use this image here. And then what we can do is we can run docker export from this container. And then we'll take that and we're going to put it over into, we'll call this, I'm going to call it the same thing. Crypto miner fs.tar. That's going to give us a tar file. So now we should have a tar file of like everything that's in the container. And then we just have to extract it. So we'll do x. I'm not going to do vf. Let's see. .tar, and we're going to put that into. I think I want taxi. Oh. There we go. So now if we go look inside that directory, boom. So now we've got everything that was inside that Docker container. Yeah, there was extra space in there. So now we've got the full, let me just CD over to it real quick. CD. So now we've got a full list of everything that was here. And it was running that app right there, right? So if we look at what's happening here, .app is set up and the /app directory, which is a common pattern, is set up there. So now if we CD to app and we look at it, then we see there's a Go app in here. It's a binary. We see the Go mod, we see the mango. So then if we, the mango. Let's see. So what is this going to do? This is going to do Go Fiber template views Fiber CTF. Let's see. What's in the README? Hold on. Did I grab the correct container for this? Is that why everything's looking really weird? Hold on. Yeah, so here's our batch check job for the name. Container is Kate's Goat batch check. I'm not sure I got the, yeah, Kate's Goat batch check. Okay, so I don't know what changed in it, but we were able to, if the crypto miner had been in here, we'd be able to go see it. It's in views, index HTML. Let's go look at that real quick. Yeah, this was actually the stuff for, maybe he swapped stuff around and it's not being maintained anymore. But if that crypto miner had been in here, we'd be able to go through and see it just like that. Bam. Okay. Cool exercise. So, tail 30. Oh, so what we did is we went through the jobs to see what was running in here. After we got that, we described which job was running batch check. And then we went through and we actually checked the configuration of that pod right here, because it told us what actual pod it was running as. So this was a label at the time, right? So after we went through and we found the actual pod that it was running. Then we went down and we pulled the copy of the container that it was using. After that, we went through and then could go basically pull down a copy of it, inspect it, export the entire file system, and make it good. Nice. Unfortunately, we cannot vim app because app is a Go binary. Yeah. That is a binary. But when we looked at the views in here, let's see, where was this? Build code. This was what we had seen in one of the other systems. So I think he repurposed this container away from like the inspecting the crypto miner to this other thing in here. Still a lot of fun. Digging the Kates. Decompile it then. Dude, I suck at reverse engineering. I straight up do. It's on the to learn list. However, I have so many other stuff in the to learn list. It's me 1 sec. I gotta get my water. I ran out of Jacko. I'll be right back. All right, 1 sec, guys. I'm back. I promise. I was talking to Sock. All right. Ooh, guess who's back? Back again. Blaise is back. Tell a friend. I don't poop every stream. Yeah, I went out to go get my water cup, and Sak was telling me about a funny part that she's reading in The Martian, because she saw Project Hail Mary come out, and then she remembered that she really liked The Martian, and then she realized it was the same author for both, and she only saw the movie, so now she's like, well, I gotta read the book now. So she's in the middle of reading The Martian, and she's like, Blaise, he just did this. Hey, there's a lot of lore behind that. So one of my buddies who routinely joins the stream, his wife, they used to live in Los Angeles. His wife is from Thailand, and apparently there is like zero social stigma about just asking somebody if they're going to take a deuce. Like, somebody excuses themselves from the dinner table. It's like, oh, you gonna go poop now? Just none. So he started the whole damn thing where anytime I stepped away from the screen, he'd be like, oh, you going poop? And so just to mess with him, I added the command to the chat. And then these guys, every time I just stop moving for 0.5 seconds, they do that crap. I didn't even cuss. You can't use swear jar if I didn't actually cuss. You bunch of weird. Hidden in layers. Let's see. This one's actually kind of like the... Actually, what is this? Yeah, we'll go ahead and do this one next, since it kind of goes in with what we were just doing on the not crypto miner container that was supposed to be one, but I guess the configs changed over time. We'll kind of look at that real quick. No, that was the swear jar monkey. The poop counter's up to 212. Yeah, keep the swear jar legit, because every increment of 100 on the swear jar, and it used to just be restricted to me. I opened it up, and that was a mistake. But every increment of 100 on the swear jar, then I go make a $100 donation to charity. So it has to be real swears, you fucking asshole. See, now I earned that one. All right, let's see here. We kind of just did this one, but you know, we'll take another look at it. No, you can't do it again because you already did it. Bad 57, bad. Can it be swears off stream? No, it only counts with swears on stream. If it was swears off stream, I'd be broke-er. Yes, it has a timeout too, because I'm not an idiot. Hey, Bobo, thanks for coming online. Welcome in to the insanity. I thought I had that restricted. Hang on. Yeah, if it was swears off stream, be toast. There we go. I updated it. I don't know when it got set to everyone. It's now set to moderators. Okay. There we go. It definitely had a timeout. Okay. Anyway, so let's get back over to hacking on the Kubernetes. So this one is, we already kind of talked about like what's the layers of the Docker container. Hang on, but let's go talk about that again. So whenever a Docker container gets built, what you have is you usually start with like a from statement here. From, and this is going to be some image, right? So if you think about how these containers get built, I didn't mean to do that. Image. There we go. Right? They're basically layers. You start with a base layer. Containers have layers like ogres, right? So you have your base layer in here. And this is essentially an entire file system that's going to be working off of. And then as you add commands, like, so you add like command 1, command 2, command 3, what they do is they actually come in and they stack in here like this. So they kind of stack in reverse order like this. And then this will keep going ad infinitum until you finally get to the last delta here. And this is actually going to be the image that's going to be finalized. So that's our final image. And this basically becomes the new, well, just image. Because then the images are what you then use to build a container. So every time you build the container, it gets built off of this, which is built off this very last layer in here. So if somebody accidentally did something where they had something exposed in a layer in here, you might be able to go extract it. Yeah, if it was off stream, it'd be 6 figures. Yeah. It'd be like every other day. I actually have been trying to get better about my cussing. I've noticed that it only really gets bad whenever like I'm super sleep deprived. That's when it's just like F-bombs away. All right, let's take a look at this one. Actually, did we have the hidden in layers one? Let me clear this out real quick. Cube, CTL, get jobs. I need a job. Hidden in layers. Okay, so then, oh, what was that command we did? Yob. That's what we did. We did a describe on the job right here. So for this, we'll do hidden in layers. And so when we describe this, let's see what we see. We see whatever our nice little selector is with our UID, job name, hidden in layers for the label. So then if we wanted to go, so then next thing we would do is probably go figure out like which pod it's running in.
The bits for the swear jar.
That was weird. Thank you, monkey. But it didn't do the full message. I don't know why it didn't. Yeah. Bits for the swear jar. Exploits for the golden throne. I actually really thought about doing a game stream tonight because I've been just amazingly worked hard the last 2 weeks, and it was a close call. I thought about just bringing up Alan Wake, because I'm on the last chapter of Alan Wake, and I think the last time we played it was, I think, for my birthday in January. And I've been meaning to have some more like one-off game streams just for fun and hanging out. But I've been busy. Claude Code is like my new game. Okay, so yeah, so what we see here is where this is. So here's our hidden in layers. And there we go, there's the image right there. So we need to pull down this image so we can actually go inspect it. So let's do Docker pull. And then we can do, I think, a Docker inspect. Yeah. Inspect this one right here. Which one was Control? Was that also by them? Oh, who did Alan Wake? I forget. It's the same guys that did Max Payne, though. All right, let's see if the TTS actually breaks again.
13 Obby Mac cheered 67 bits and says, "But Claude don't work no mo."
13 Obby Mac. Oh, that was also by Remedy. And yeah, I think Remedy are the ones that made Alan Wake, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah. Director of the Federal Bureau of Control, Jessica Faden, a secret U.S. government agency that investigates and controls phenomena that violate the natural laws of reality. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Okay, maybe I'll pick that one up there. I still gotta finish Alan Wake, and then maybe we'll go pick up Control. We'll just make it like a whole series of Remedy games. All right, Gumby. Hey, dude, if you're going out chasing, stay safe, man. Let's see. Hey, Sin, what's up, dude? I just found I feel the kick from a Carolina Reaper pepper is much stronger and lasting compared to a hard alcoholic drink. I don't really do spicy anymore, man. Since I started doing a lot of carnivore, I was like, I just don't. Hold on. Did I do the wrong one? This was hidden in layers, right? Yeah. Let me pipe this to less so I can take a look at it here. He must have changed a lot of this stuff in here, because now we see this is just tail of dev null in here. That's the entry command. And in his screenshot, unless something changed in here, no, there's the env, there's the config. Env command, it's just checking dev null in here. Okay, so let's go check the history for this one. Oh, look at that. Because in here... Oh, it was tail dev no. Okay, never mind. I'm an idiot. My wife grows Carolina Reapers that makes hot sauce from them. Ooh, nice. I'm a hot sauce on everything type of guy. I know, right? I find it funny when people talk about, like, what was it? They basically, I don't know, there was something about, like, I guess, talking about, like, I guess that white people can't handle spicy. I was like, you do realize that they've got chili pepper, or they got chili sauces made in Louisiana that are, like, you know, called, like, slap your mama or something like that. There's craziness. That's how my father-in-law is. He's a hot sauce on everything. The hotter, the better. If he's not sweating afterwards, it wasn't hot enough. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings Showdown and ate 20 wild knockout wings, and I can't feel my tongue now. Yeah, slap your mama seasoning. I know, right? I think one time I went to Wingstop and they had their atomic wings, and my buddy got an order from it. I think we were playing D&D or something, and so we ordered some food, and he got like a 6-pack of that or whatever, like 6 little wings, right? One for each of us to try. And I took that sucker and I was about to bite into it, and when I breathed in, I felt my lips go numb. from the spice. And I'm like, oh, hell no. No, 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 no. We're not doing the Ring of Fire tonight. They'll make a hot sauce called Fire Ring Sting Hell Sauce with a skull and crossbones on it. And you gotta sign a waiver. Damn. Nope. In my youth, yes. But even then, no. Good God. Oh, that's cool, actually. Oh yeah, so here we see that there is, in roots, there's a secret file. They got added into here. Okay, so that was the primary way, and we actually already went through the process where we were looking at the crypto miner container to pull that out and see how that would work. Let me see what his other message is. Let's see, df image. So Docker run with attack v here, Alpine df image. Ooh, what is this doing? Hang on. Let me copy these commands over real quick so we can take a look at them. So all he's doing is he's aliasing df image to this, and then he's running that here. So the actual command that's being run is this. We take this part right here and just drop it in for the alias. So what is this? I've never seen this image for Docker run. I've never seen attack SV option before. Hang on. What is that? Let me clear this out. Because I've never seen attack SV before. I don't even see that as a valid command. I want to try this real quick. I'm just curious if this is going to run. Aw. Have to support my client. Bastard. Maybe that's why. Docker version? Because it said we're running 136. Oh, the client. Oh yeah, client version 136. That's weird. Oh, hang on. Is that what that SV is? 136? Interesting. So I guess that maybe that's a global value variable that you can add to it. Because I've never seen that. So I guess that's where you can set the particular version that it's going to use for the overlay. So you could dump the environment variables. I'll have to dig into that one a little bit more. What was the deal with the crypto miner in that container? Oh, that was just one of these exercises in here, Bobby. It wasn't anything super great. So there's one scenario in here called Analyze the Crypto Miner, but he's changed it to where it doesn't actually get the crypto miner anymore. So we went through all the steps and we could see like, hey, this is where it would go. Now it's actually the container for the CI/CD pipeline vulnerability. Otherwise, it would have been really fun. Oh, so it probably specifies the system version of the Docker image. Maybe. Maybe. Hey, look at that. Hang on one second. I'm checking on this tech SV thing. Oh, that's because I'm an idiot. That was on diff image. I see. I see. That was that particular... It had to do with... That was an argument for that particular container. I'm a dummy. Yeah, so hold on. Let's go take a look at this. So what's happening here when you run this is you're doing a volume mount, right? You're exposing the Docker socket. And when you're running this, you're running Alpine DF image, which I guess is like diff image. And then this is getting passed to the entry point for diff image. So tac SV and then this guy right here. Got it. Got it. So no information came back from that, even though we saw that information in there. Yeah, and you were pretty much right there, Ken, that it was setting the version, the Docker API version to 1.36. But it was setting it in that particular one. Got it. I didn't even know that was an option. And see, that's why I like going through some of these lower, these like really intro exercises like this, because there's cool little tidbits you can pick up like that. Ooh, what is this? Dive is an amazing tool that helps you analyze each layer of an image. Say less. Let's see what this does. So you can choose what your image is. Got a nice little TUI here. Ooh. Daddy likes. What's this written in Go? Can I just download this and run it? Let's see. Linux AMD 64. I got a deb package. Do I want to install it? Let me just grab the tar-gz. Let me just grab that real fast. Let's do. And then let's tar that sucker. XZF. I should have put that into a directory. Anyway. Dive. Oh, I gotta tell it what image to use. Hang on. Let's see. Hidden in layers. This is the one. Damn it. Damn it. Oh, here we go. Hold on. I need to zoom this out just a tiny bit. Can I? Oh, the ads back. Okay, so all I did, guys, is there's a very cool command line TUI utility someone made called Dive. And Dive lets you actually go dig into the containers layers in here. So that's what I did, is I just downloaded it. It's a Go binary. We're checking it out. And so if I want to go look at this guy, then what we see here is we see that it adds secrets.txt to /root. So what does this do? Space collapse. There we go. We collapse this stuff down. Oh, this is sexy. I love this. How do I extract this? Is it Control E? Tell me how to extract it. It looks like it's Control E. Oh, I know. This is sick. I would have killed for this so long ago. Let's see. Control Shift E? Did that do it? Why are you not? Extract it. Extract it for me. I want it. Hold on. Is it still in here, though? Let's see. What's collapse all? Collapse all. Go down to root. Okay, so it's not in the root here, but it is down in this layer right here. So there's secrets right there. I want to extract you. Where's it put it after I extract it? It should just be Control E. It says it right there. Well, hold on. You can't see it because it's behind my big old head. But you can see it right there. Control E is extract file. Extract it, damn you. Extract it.
My precious, we want sits. Stupid fat layers.
Oh, look at this. Okay. Damn it. From the above analysis, we can see significant changes to these two files, right? So if we come back down here, let me... Damn it. So we can see where it was, right? But it got removed. Let's see. The method can't help us read the contents of the files. Let's see if we can find the files in the running container. They're in the running container? No. Oh, there we go. Yeah, can't open, no such file directory. So we can't see that because it's been deleted from the next layer. So we can recover root secrets by leveraging Docker's built-in command to export the Docker image as a tar file. What? No. Oh, that's so much easier. Docker save. Dude, that's a lot easier than the weird janky way we did it earlier. Hang on. Okay. Break out of that. That's still pretty cool. I like that. Tar, let's see. It should be X, F, hidden in layers. Hidden in layers. Hate you. Yeah. Let's see. We see blobs in here. Oh, look at that. So now we've got a couple in here. Oh, so what was that layer that we needed in here? Hold on. I think we've got it up here. Damn it, I don't. Hold on. You just run. Okay. There we go. So the one we need is the digest ending in 4FA2. Right here. So we find that one. I don't see a 4FA2. Killing me, Smalls. Hey, Euler, what's up, dude? What is that you sent? Oh, they're hearts. Have you tried saying thank you? I'll say thank you when it tells me it's secrets. Otherwise, it's going to get the hose again. Actually, can we get this one? Let's see. E813. They all have like the same timestamp. December 31st, 1969. Nice. So if we look at the dive output, we see that according to this one, it was ID 5533F. And here he had 5533F. See that? So yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Add file. Hold on, let me run dive again real quick. Actually, hang on. So let me do this. Let me copy that real fast. Here, I'm going to run dive up here so I can take a look at it. Ah! Not the right one. There we go. Yeah, so here's the one where it gets added to it, right? See the digest? The digest is right here. That guy. But I don't see that one in here. I don't see any that start with AEB 19. Oh, let me see. Yeah, created in 1969. Nice. Yeah, I don't see any of those that are in here. This walkthrough is a little bit outdated. Because here, he was able to do exactly what I thought we should be able to do, which is, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm looking at the digest. It's the ID value. That's what we need. So the ID value is what? ID value is blobs. Oh no. Because we looked at blobs. All we have is SHA-256. What? So when he extracted this, he got those ID values. So yeah, things have shifted a little bit in here. We might just brute force this. Do I have the tree command? That's it? Oh, those are just files. I thought those were directories in here. Oh my. Oh my. So we see index. This just tells us what the final SHA was in here. Yeah, there must have been some changes over to how these container layers were being handled in there. What's this OCI layout? Nothing's fancy there. What about the manifest? There's our various layers in here. Is there a part that I'm missing? Let's see. So his are all directories, and then he extracts that as a tar file for the layer.tar. Let me see something real quick. So if we look at this, back LA. That's a gzip compressed data. Oh, okay. It still doesn't match up what we were seeing in Dive, right? In Dive, we were seeing this one should have been. So there's where it gets. Here's where it gets added to it, right? And this was saying it was Shaw AEB something. I don't know why I'm trying to. Let me see. Yeah, so we don't have that in there. So the option we have is to go through layer by layer and extract them. Hey, I got on the first shot. Nice, there's the secret. I just got lucky. Hold on. Secrets. Cool, there's a Kubernetes goat flag. Hold on, I have to try this again though, because I need to know, I gotta try this one more time. I gotta know what else is in like any of these layers in here. So like what's 28? Oh, that one's not an archive. Okay, show me what the file is for all these. Oh, okay, so even though things have changed, we can come through and we could actually see that, okay, this one, I just got lucky that it happened to be the first one alphanumerically, but that was some gzipped data in here. Root was the directory. Ignore root because we just took that one out. JSON text data. So what is that then? All sorts of interesting information. Wish I could. Wait, did I put NVim on here? I did not. Oh well. If I had that going in there, then I would definitely do that. But there's other layers in here that we could go through and we could extract. So let's do this one. Let's extract that. Tar XF, big long nasty string. Well, there's the contributions.txt. So now that's in there. So what's in the other one? Let's go try that last one. Let's see if we can get a better idea of like what it's doing. Okay, so that's the entire root structure. See that? Because we didn't have any of these files before. We still have contributions and secrets. Okay. So we can kind of brute force our way through it, and we can limit our options here, right? If we come through, and once we get all the blobs in here, even though the SHAs don't match for whatever reason, we can see which ones are gzips, and those are going to be tar compressed copies of that layer, so that we can go manually dig through them, and just pray to God that it's not a really complex one. That's still wild, though. If we can pull that out of here, how come Dive couldn't pull that out? Right? Let's see. Here's root. All right, I want to try something else real quick. So if I come back to the... This is the topmost layer, right? Can I extract it from here? Okay, I wanted to see why this extraction wasn't working. I'm gonna try something that I know works. So I did an extract, but did anything come back from that? Weird. You're lying to me. You say you can extract a file, but then you don't. You bastard. All right, I'm gonna have to play with Dive some more. I've got 2 guys on my team that are absolute Kubernetes wizards, and so I'm gonna go ask them about Dive now because that was really cool. I am so happy I learned about that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Gaining environment information. Let's go look at that real quick. Let's see, so there's no difference from the traditional workloads. Most of the compute instances while running the application store sensitive information like secrets and API keys in environment variables. Similarly, in Kubernetes, most of the people storing sensitive information like secrets and the config values in environment variables. And if an attacker can find application vulnerabilities like a remote code execution or a command injection, then it's game over for the secrets. Oh, is this another web hacking one? Lame. Oh, we already did this on 1233. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. Let's go back to 1233. Let's go do that one again. Here, I'm going to refresh this so we start with like a fresh shell. There we go. So we can get the container runtime by doing cat self cgroup. Let's go try that real quick. Cat rock self. But we didn't get nothing from that. So we can get information about the hosts, our mounts. We could also get, he just did print env in here. Let's go try it. I never even used print env. It was just always just env. What's the difference? Same thing. That's also consequently, whenever I first get into any system that I'm looking at, these environment variables are exposed to every process. So that's one of the very first things that a moderately skilled attacker or anybody will go do when you're checking on something is just go check what's going on in the environment in here. It's like we see the vault key. Nice. There's our metadata DB port. And so notice this was just running on 10.109. This is like some weird internal configuration here. Nice. Nice. Yeah. I got one buddy who he just does basically security research on Kubernetes. And I need to go talk to him because I haven't talked to him in a minute. But it was kind of cool whenever we first got acquainted because he was telling me basically he hates Active Directory. I hate Kubernetes. But he looks at Kubernetes as damn vulnerable by default, the same way Active Directory is. So we had that really in common. So it did actually give us a very nice, like, at least common kernel to share information from. All right, so that one was kind of okay. It was okay. What about this? Let's look at this. RBAC least privilege configuration. So in the early days of Kubernetes, there was no such concept as role-based access control. It mostly used attribute-based access control. And now it has superpowers like RBAC to implement the security principle of least privilege, in theory. Still, most of the real-world workloads and resources end up having wider privileges that it's intended to have. So in this scenario, we're going to see how simple misconfigurations like this can gain access to secrets and more resources and information. Nice. So the goal here is accessing and talking to the Kubernetes API using the REST API, working with different Kubernetes resources and querying them, and exploiting the misconfiguration and overlay permissions to gain access to sensitive information. Nice. All about that. All right, so this one we're actually working in a different pod. Hey, Uply? 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 I'm gonna go with Uply. Like supply. No, Uply. Like supply. There you go. Uply. Thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. I hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. A fantabulous, wonderful, stupendous, amazing, amazing Saturday. Let's see. What was I doing? Oh, wait. I keep trying to Alt-Tab over to this. I'm going to do this. Here. This is going to make that easier. There we go. Because I keep wanting to Alt-Tab, and it's another tab in this window, so it's not. It's busted it up. So the goal is find the Kubernetes flag by gaining access to the Kubernetes secret vault key.
Thank you. Sock brought me tea.
Ooh, thank you, Ann. She spoils me. I honestly do not know how she puts up with my bullshit.
Tasty tea.
I think mostly she brings me the tea because it's supposed to be like sleepy time tea, and she actually wants me to get sleep. Okay, so here it says, let's try to see what. So we're gonna find the whatever this flag is, getting access to the Kubernetes secret. So I mean, is that just the one that's in? No, it's not Etsy. It's in Run Secrets Kubernetes service account. I mean, there's the token. We go back over in here. Let's see. Yeah, so just service account. Now this actually will get us cat namespace. Big monolith. Hang on. That'll make it easier. Yeah, big monolith is our namespace that we're running in. So inside of big monolith. So we have, let's look at this again real quick. So we've got a couple of key pieces of information in here. So we've got the CA certificate, which is a public certificate. So it's not a private one, but it's one that we need to authenticate basically that that Cube Control is going to use for that. Hack the planet. Hack the planet. What's up, dude? Oh, dude, you just reminded me. Hang on. I forgot. Guys. I forgot. I have keys. I have keys to give away for Hack the Box. They just released, what's it? Let's Defend #1. You just reminded me, Planet, when you came in. Also, what's up, brother? Hadn't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Hack the Box, Let's Defend. We looked at this, but I haven't slept since then. So I believe this is like a new lab they've got set up. Let's Defend #1. So I'm currently a software engineer, but wanting to break into pen testing. Is Hack the Box a good website to start with? Yes, especially if you have a decent technical understanding in there. Yes, I really like Hack the Box. I don't usually recommend Try Hack Me too much anymore, but that's for different reasons that I don't want to go into. And it's nothing, well, never mind. I'm not even going to touch on it. Anyway, yes, Hack the Box is very cool. It also depends, like, if you're not strong on networking, like I'm talking like layer 2, layer 3, understanding MAC addresses, IP addresses, TCP, UDP. I recommend actually also just go burn through something like the Net Plus and understand that. Because if you're weak on networking, which funny enough, a lot of software engineers are, and I don't blame them, that will make a lot of the stuff that you do in penetration testing more difficult. Okay, very first place I would start with is start with something simple for networking like the Network Plus. And don't worry about even taking the certification. Make sure you actually understand like what's happening at those various layers of the OSI model. And say like, okay, cool, here's how MAC addresses are working. Here's how switches operate and how they get packets from point A to point B. Here's how routers work to get you between those various networks. Make sure you have a good understanding of that. Because I know some people who are amazing pen testers, but they struggle with things like pivoting, stuff like that. There's a free entry-level networking course available on the Cisco Net Academy. Perfect. Even do that. Which it's cool to hear because Cisco is where I got my start in like professional IT land when I stopped doing internet hood rat stuff. Well, let's put it that way. Let's say pre-getting paid to do internet hood rat stuff. It's basically like the Network Plus. Perfect, and it's free. Hold on. Let me see. Cisco Net Academy intro course. Let's go see if we can find it real quick. Explore subjects, networking. There's DevNet Associate. Oh, where's like the very... Hold on, let's look at learning journeys because maybe they've got something in here that will tell us where to start. I guess it would be that networking essentials one. Weirdly enough, we were required to get the Sec Plus certification, but not the Net Plus. Sec Plus is not bad. I never took the Sec Plus, so I can't give a lot of direct feedback on it. But the reason why I recommend starting with Net Plus actually is it is the networking essentials. Gotcha. So the reason I usually recommend people that if they're wanting to actually move into like penetration testing is a lot of penetration testing. People are like, oh, cool, I'm going to be slinging exploits and buffer overflows and stuff. That is probably 2% of my job. And 2% at my current company is being very generous. 99, probably 4 nines worth of the time, whenever I'm actively operating in a network, I'm abusing built-in functionality. And you cannot abuse built-in functionality if you don't know that it's built in. So I think of it as unauthorized system administration. Technically, it is authorized because we have rules of engagement signed, so I don't have to go to federal, pound me in the booty prison, but that's a different story. So a lot of times whenever I'm working on something, I'm abusing that built-in functionality in ways that it was not intended to achieve some kind of a goal. So for example, I go compromise a CI/CD. Cool. Now I'm going and I'm stealing secrets. Great. The secrets now lead me to over here. I'm not using some kind of cool, leet, hidden ODay to use those secrets. No, I'm using the access that's provided for me to go get into that other system and then start rifling around and then use that to pivot into another system. Oh, Hacks, thank you for dropping the link to it. Yeah. So, for example, one of the ideas I like to use is just using pass the hash. Pass the hash is abusing built-in functionality. So if you don't know how pass the hash works, where's my, that's not it. Here it is. Let me bring up the blackboard of knowledge here. So, for example, so pass the hash. Whenever you have 2 computers, let's say we've got like workstation A and workstation B, and they're both connected to a domain. So we've got a domain controller. Actually, I'll tell you something even funnier. You actually don't even need this. Hold on, I'm gonna take out the domain controller. Let's just say you've got 2 computers on your network, and both computers have user Bob. set up on them. So here's Bob and here's Bob. They're two different computers. They're not connected in any way except over like a normal network link. Logically, they don't even necessarily know the other exists. And let's say Bob wants to connect over to this computer. And this, just for completeness, these are Windows machines. If Bob's password over here, I don't know what I was doing there, password, and his password over here are the same, then when this password gets converted into a hash, it's going to have the same hash because Windows does not use salted hashes. So it's an unsalted hash called an NTLM, right? So if I go in here, Bob can actually connect over to this computer and have whatever rights Bob has assigned to him without even entering his password if he is connecting from Bob to Bob on this other computer. And the reason is because these two things are identical. Because these two things are identical. So as this works, if all this data lines up, then I could instantly go jump over to this other computer. And there's ways to do this with inside of Active Directory networks too. What I could do is if I just get the hash, I don't need to know his password. I can easily get his username. And then now I can just use this hash to come over and impersonate Bob over here without ever knowing his password. Yeah, just another meeting with the Bobs. We understand you've been missing a lot of work lately. I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob. Such an amazing movie. Yeah. So Camerex, this is what I was talking about. Abusing that built-in functionality, knowing these kind of things about the network. Or the most of the time I'm doing it with stuff like Kerberos, like understanding that you've got like S4U or S4U to self. And these are mechanisms that allow you to basically exchange one Kerberos ticket here into a different type of Kerberos ticket to get different functionality and different access. So that in a snapshot is like what I do day in and day out. Yep. Fun stuff. Though one of my buddies put it to me like this. It's kind of like if you think of a system administrator as a mechanic and the job is to go change the spark plugs. The system administrator will pop the hood, pull the spark plugs, swap them out. The penetration tester will create a special tool that can worm all the way through the exhaust system up and find the piston that's not in the correct position and unscrew the spark plug from the inside. Listen, just basically unauthorized system administration. But anyway, before we went off on that tangent, I do have 10 keys to the Let's Defend over here. So, ooh. Should we do the giveaway tonight? I guess we could do that. Hang on. I think I can do that with Nightbot. There we go. And hang on. I need to do something for... I'm going to pop out the chat real quick because the last time I did a giveaway, they're like, we can't see the chat. We don't know who won. Okay. Hang on. I'm going to bring these over here. There we go. So I'll keep that up for just a second. What did he say it was? Let's go find it real quick because I believe this is a... Let me see what they're actually doing in here. I'm not signed into Hack the Box, fortunately. I know Let's Defend was a system that they acquired. I was listening to our senior devs argue about it, so I was curious. Oh, yeah. It's pretty fun. I mean, and the way I usually the way I usually tell people to think about security is they always usually want to go to like penetration testing, but security does have the defensive side to it. And also, security is not its own vertical. That's a big misconception a lot of people make about it. They look at IT as like being, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we've got developers, we've got system administrators, we've got database administrators, we've got people who are doing governance, risk, and compliance, yada, yada, yada. In actuality, this is inaccurate. Security is an umbrella that sits on top of every other IT vertical because every single one has security risk and concerns. So thinking of security as being like just another vertical is the absolute worst way to do this. It's one that should be sitting over everything. It's the fungus that grows on all these verticals. It's the lichen. It's the vine that grows up the trellis. That's a funny way to think about it. Anyway, I'll have to ask. Maybe I'll ask Falcon about that real quick. Because, hang on. Let me see if I can sign in real quick. Let me drop into OPSEC mode real fast. I don't know if I can. All right, stand by. Okay, think I got it now. So here, here we go. Let's Defend. So it's a new top level thing that they put in. I have not been on Hack the Box in quite a while. In fact, I need to go check it out because I think one of my buddies was telling me they've got specialized ranges set up. Yeah, sure, link account. I think they have specialized ranges set up to do this. I'm a student or beginner. What do you want to learn about? Malware analysis. Actually, that sounds pretty cool, yes. I want to find an entry-level job. I am a beginner with no cybersecurity background. That's how I feel all the time, anyway. So it looks like it's 1 month for... What did he say? Yeah, so it's a 1 month sub to the, I guess, the premium for Let's Defend in here. Yes, Bobby, all my base R belong to you. Yeah. So this is over in, if you log into Hack the Box, come over here and you go to Let's Defend. Right here. That's where this brought up here. So it looks pretty cool. What's the normal pricing on it? Let me see. For individuals, VIP is $17 a month. VIP Plus is $30. Save money if you pay annually. So not a bad price. That's a good price. They do have some basic stuff for free as well. So about hacking, how much does it matter at what language our grip is written with? I mean, does language determine how solid or fragile our grid is against it? Oh, the grid. Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, if everything was written in Rust, then at least it would be more secure against any kind of potential memory corruption attacks. But for the most part, not necessarily. I mean, the main limiting factor for the language is going to be what's supported on the IoT, I almost said IoT. I'm blanking on the term. ICS. What's supported on the ICS devices, the SCADA systems? That's going to be like the main limiting factor. So no, language doesn't usually play a huge role in it. It's a lot of the other stuff that surrounds it. And that's one of the things that makes security so difficult. If you want to really think about it, security kind of looks like this, where you do, like, a lot of people, practice this kind of defense in depth idea, right? Where you've got like all these kind of concentric circles here. So in theory, you've got like your outer layer, and then you've got your inner layer, and then another one inside of that. And really then you've got like your kind of crown jewels there in the middle. And whenever you're doing something like a penetration test, you're just trying to kind of like break through one of these layers. And then you might find another entry point over here. And then you might find another entry point over here, till eventually you can hit the target right here. Sometimes you find something that lets you just go boom right to it, and it just undercuts everything. But in actuality, this is a bit more like what it is. Like you could have your external environment here, and then let's say like this is your internal, and then let's say like this is like your privileged access, right? And then finally you've got something like, let's say this is our corporate secrets in here. So yeah, it's really cool to get like domain admin. But at the same time, that's awesome. That means they've got something in there. But there might be other controls actually going in the outbound direction. So, hey, cool, yeah, you could get to the secrets, but we've planted a file we want you to get in there. Can you get that file back out? That's a whole nother part of it. So a lot of what I do is objective-based testing, where we have an objective like, you're to compromise this system, you're to compromise this system, you're to try and exfiltrate data from this system, and so on and so forth. Computers are actually very hard, mostly because they're programmed by people. Oh, what was it? Hold on, Bobby. I was in the zone there. I was news chat. Let's see. Yes, Ken. Bob's your uncle. Oh, the all your bases are belong to us, dude. I just think of the old meme. That was such a funny translation. Do you also evaluate how well they detected you in the environment? Oh yeah. So like for example, it depends on how we're operating. So there's usually two modes of operating here. There's pen test, which everybody is usually very familiar with, and this one, stealth is not usually a component to it. And then there's a red team. So in a red team, you are trying to be stealthy. So for a pen test on a red team, right? If they start having IOCs popping up, they start doing incident response, then we actually will note that. We'll put that in the report like, hey, by the way, you had an alert here and you did a good job. You evicted us out of the system. Or it's like, hey, you had an alert and you caught us, but you didn't fully evict us. We had a persistence mechanism set up over in this other system, and we were able to get back into the network. So absolutely, yeah, detection is a big part of it. For a pen test, it's good because you're not trying to be stealthy. And if their security detections are not as mature, you want to be going and setting off noise. In a red team, after I've completed the primary objective, then we'll start turning the noise up, and we'll start seeing like, hey, how badly do we have to be for you to detect us? Hackers won't understand your code if you don't understand it either. Sun Tzu. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Oh, damn it, Ken. Really? All your bases? Even base 12? Oh, that's funny. So speaking of the IBM server, since you brought it up, there's actually a lot of thought that IBM's mainframe business is probably going to get eaten alive by AI. And the reason is because they have basically a stranglehold on it, and that's kind of ripping that stranglehold out. So that'll be really interesting to see how that kind of matures over time. Crap, I just noticed the time. Okay. Damn it. All right, we'll do the giveaway real fast. We're gonna do this. I gotta figure out how to do it though. Okay, guys, in the chat window, type in !defend.
And that will put you into... Wait, hold on. Did I do... Yeah, there we go. Exclamation point defend, and that will put you in the drawing for it. I'll just probably DM it to you over on Twitch. That's the simplest way to kind of get the key out to everybody. And then I got to figure out how to do this. Giveaway options. Can I choose how many winners? Luck multipliers? No. I think, yes, I want to do unique winners. We'll try that real quick. Okay, I'll tell you what, since we're coming to the very end of the stream, what we'll do is we'll do 5 for tonight. We'll do the other 5 tomorrow night. So because base 16 or below, and base 64 and below, and base 2 and below have zones they can control. I don't know, maybe.
Potato. It's not potato.
Alright, I don't know if I need to do this over here. Alright. Let's try this. So we'll do 5 winners tonight, and then we'll do another 5 tomorrow night. How's that sound? Sounds good. Yeah, awesome. Alright, I guess I need to bring this over here. There we go. Alright, so you can't really see it, but Ken is the first winner. Okay, hold on. I gotta make notes of who actually won. Okay, so Ken won, and then let's see. Camerix also won. Daver got one of these. Oh, I didn't copy it. Hang on. You can tell I do this oh so much. I know there's a better way to do this. I'll figure it out. Let's see. Bobby got one. Hey. All right, last one. No whammies. And Hack the Planet got one. Nice. Perfect. There you go, guys. Yes, I expected the rigs in chat. I know. Okay. Awesome. I will get those messaged out to you here afterwards. I gotta keep track of like which ones I've used and which ones I haven't. If you have trouble with the key, let me know. Because the guy who gave me the hookup, Falcon, over at Hack the Box, he's really cool. And he said if we have any trouble, let him know. He can cycle the keys. That's fine. So, unfortunately, that is where I've got to wrap it up. So, Ken, Camerix, Daver, Bobby, and Hack, I will DM y'all your keys here just a little bit. Let's go see who we might be able to raid over to. Let's see. Who's on InfoSec streams? Anybody? Irasakai is on. What are they working on? Let's see. They're working on Maybelline. Hack the Box and OSCP training. Okay. Very cool. Perfect. Let's see. I want to see what they're actually working on though, real quick, after we continue with a word from these sponsors. Let's see.
Yeah. Just have to leave it off.
I'm just gonna. I can't warn him. I'm not logged in here. Okay, that's fine. We'll go right over to him. Let me get that set up real fast. All right, guys. Let me officially end the stream. Let me get the raid set up. There we go. Okay. Raid is set. Do me a favor. When you get into Irasakai's chat, drop a bunch of Hack the Planets. Check them out. Encourage them. We want more people to grow into security. We're going to need it, especially with all the AI slop coming out. And I hope you all have a fantastic Sunday tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to get to take the kids riding, unfortunately, because of the rain. Oh, well, it happens. I will catch you all tomorrow night. I hope you all have a wonderful day tomorrow. Rest up so we can enter Crushing It mode Monday with a vengeance. And I want y'all to remember one very important thing, which is, this is very important. You paying attention? This will be on the test. I love you. Peace.